Hi,
I'm
thank you
Kelly
for this.
Corrigan, and I'm so happy to be sitting next to Walter
Hey, Kelly.
Isaacson. How you doing?
Pretty good. Good to be with you. Good to be back
Thanks for
here.
coming by.
Thanks.
So you have had this incredible career in trafficking in ideas with Time and CNN and everything you've done at the Aspen Institute. So I feel like you've sort of recently debunked this idea of the lone creator, the genius that works in isolation to come up with the next great thing. Can you talk a little bit about the role of collaboration in innovation?
Yeah, it's a digital revolution. We don't really know who invented the computer, who invented the internet, and it's partly because it was all done collaboratively. I remember when I was writing my biography of Steve Jobs, and I thought, well, he's the great lone inventor, the guy in the garage, maybe with a friend, Wozniak, from down the street, but just doing it alone. And he kept saying, no, you don't understand. I'm not, the lone inventor of any of these products. I invented Apple, a group of people, collaborators who could make great products. And so when I looked, whether it was the heroes who did the first computer, the women who programmed the first computer, they all do it as teamwork. And so I realized that creativity is a team sport.
So do you have a theory about why that is? Like why we're always looking to eliminate kind of the messy nonsense of lots of people trying and failing and iterating and replacing that with this kind of hero myth?
Yeah, we biographers, and I plead guilty because I've done Ben Franklin and Einstein and Steve Jobs. We realize deep inside that we distort history a bit. We make it sound like some guy or gal is sitting there in a garage or a garret and they have a light bulb moment and innovation happens because it's a better story. I mean, it's the way we tell tales with the hero, Ulysses going out to sea or whatever. And it's important to have those visionaries. The book I've written is filled with visionaries, but visionaries you probably haven't heard of, people like Licklider or Doug Engelbart or Alan Kay, who really helped envision the machine, but they did it within groups, like in Xerox PARC or at MIT.
Right. So one of the people that you bring into the light is Ada Lovelace.
I love Ada Lovelace. Yes.
I love Ada Lovelace too, and I want to thank you because
it's her birthday coming up. We should
is it really?
Yeah.
It is. I have two daughters, and they're both mathletes.
My daughter, Betsy, who is a math geek, she turned me on to Ada Lovelace. She was writing her college admissions essay, and being the type of parents, we were hovering to see, what are you going to write? And she wouldn't let us even near her. And then she said, I said, well, what was it? She said, Ada Lovelace. And I said, well, why? Explain. She said, well, Lord Byron's daughter. She was a poet because her father was this great romantic poet, but her mother was a mathematician. So she combines sort of math and poetry and comes up with the notion of how a calculating machine can do words or pictures or music. Idea of a general purpose computer, and she publishes the first computer program. So this woman who combines the engineering and the art, to me, that's the patron saint of the digital age.
So per that, if you think about all this conversation right now about colleges and four-year degrees and the value of a liberal arts education, and should we send all these people into debt? And then you think about the magic that Ada Lovelace was able to generate by merging the two sides, right and left. I mean, it's oversimplifying to say right brain, left brain, but it connects.
No, connects.
Do you have a point of view about the importance of a liberal arts education?
Absolutely. I mean, we're here at Miami-Dade College, which is just one of the, Eduardo Padron has created a great community college here because it combines the arts and the sciences. And we really need to push, science, technology, engineering, and math, the STEM fields. But we need to remember that the great creativity, as Steve Jobs said, is those who stand at the intersection of the humanities and technology, because those are the people who can connect humans to machines.
Right.
And, but on the other hand, just as I think humanities and the arts are important to keep in the curriculum, those people who love humanities and the arts, and this is why I wrote the book, I think it's useful to figure out, okay, I now know what a transistor is. I now realize it's an on-off switch. I now realize a piece of silicon can be a semiconductor, and it makes an on-off switch, and this is how you do logic in a circuit. It's not that complicated. As Ada would say, it's hard, but it's not as hard as, say, a line of her dad's poetry, like she walks in beauty like the night. You visualize it. I think those in the humanities should try to visualize the beauty of our technology.
Right, and there's a huge relationship between math and music, for
Absolutely.
instance.
And whenever Einstein gets stumped, especially when he's doing general relativity and pacing around, he pulls out his violin and plays Mozart because he says he wants to reconnect to the harmony of the spheres. So throughout the book, from Ada Lovelace to the Sergey Brin and Larry Page who do Google near the end of my book. It's all people who understand how to connect human creativity to the processing power of machines.
So I want to talk about the state of curiosity in the world, and also maybe how that relates to people cross-pollinating themselves. So I feel like there's this pressure as a parent, and my kids are in middle school, to sort of get really good at one thing.
Absolutely, bad idea.
Bad idea,
Bad
right?
idea. When you get siloed, you're not going to be creative. You know, one of the things about the digital age that I write about is these open workplaces like Bob Noyce and Gordon Moore and Andy Grove created at Intel, that you now see at Google or Apple or any place like that. It's where they're not divisions, you know, like here's the hardware division, here's the software division, here's the iPod division, but everybody's open and they're sharing ideas, because I think it's at these intersections that things happen. And somebody asked me, well, what advice do you have coming out of your book? I said, just walk around your workplace and make sure you know what everybody else is doing.
Yeah. Do you think that's a hangover from like the Industrial Revolution, where it was like, hey, you're the...
Yeah, in the industrial, that's a very good question. I hadn't thought about it, Kelly, but it is true that in the Industrial Revolution, we broke up processes into separate steps. Like even in a pen-making factory, there'd be somebody who did this, then somebody, and even in mathematics, they'd say, okay, you're the one who adds this column. And so you'd break it up into sequential steps, and that was the process of the Industrial Revolution. The process of the information technology revolution is that you combine things, and to me, it's a combining facility. This is an Ada Lovelace line. The combining facility is what leads to imagination.
I think there's this assumption that to have people that are participating in multiple teams inside a company, for instance, is inefficient, and to have children that are both pursuing lacrosse and violin is inefficient. But actually, and maybe it does take a little bit more time to be interested in and develop in these multiple areas.
When you look at Alan Kay, who created the graphical user interface at Xerox PARC, sort of an unsung hero of my book, but he's like, loves music. He plays jazz. He also goes to the University of Utah and loves graphic displays and things like that. And he comes up with the beauty of that computer screen we now use with trash cans and icons and folders. Likewise, Steve Jobs, he drops out of college, but he takes calligraphy and dance courses, right? And he loves calligraphy so much that when they do the original Macintosh, he says, on this bitmap screen, I'm going to do beautiful fonts. You want people, I mean, if the simple phrase is that beauty matters.
And what do you think the state of curiosity is right now? I mean, do you think that we're becoming more curious as a culture, or less?
I'm very optimistic, and I think one of the great things about the digital revolution is any kid with access to this revolution, we got to make sure all kids, you know, are connected, they're wired, they're, you know, have their access to the internet and computers. But any kid who wants to can explore anything now, and this is really great. And so the future will belong to the curious. Yeah,
that's a great line. And what are you excited about? Like, what innovations are on the horizon that thrill you? Like, do you think there's something exciting that's going to come out of this 3D printing, or being able to map DNA?
Obviously 3D printing is important because it takes the information technology revolution, brings it to the physical age, where you're actually manufacturing things. Obviously the life sciences and big data connected to medical things are going to be great. You and I have been talking about Medium, which is a company I like, in which people can collaborate more easily on a platform. And with this book, The Innovators, I put it up on Medium and some other platform so people could tell me their stories, and it would be written in a collaborative way. And finally, I'm excited by Bitcoin and other cyber currencies, because I think we need a way to have micropayments on the internet so we can sort of reward people who are creative.
Do you think that the things that we're lauding as great innovations will stand the test of time?
Yeah, I mean, I think, you know, some things will maybe disappear. We'll sort of say, wait a minute, what was that, you know, beer rating social network all about? I think we've probably overdone social networks because they're easy to do in dorm rooms and you know, garages. I think people who really disrupt, you know, the cable TV system, or disrupt the banking system, or disrupt how we do medicine, or more importantly maybe how we do kindergarten through 12th grade education. Invent new ways to teach our kids to make them both creative and allow their curiosity. Those will be the inventions we remember a century from now.
Yeah. What are you going to do in 2015?
In 2015, I hope to be in Italy writing about the ultimate in the person who connects the humanities to the sciences, Leonardo da Vinci.
That's very convenient that it's in
I know,
Italy.
in Florence.
Yeah,
yes,
you didn't want to
exactly.
pick somebody.
Yeah,
and,
tough work.
Yeah. And you seem like you have had very little experience with failure. I wonder if you have a big flop that you can tell us about.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's not a big flop, but it was something I wasn't good at, which is when I ran CNN. And I realized, I mean, you're in the television business. I love print. I love words. I love writing narrative. And I went to CNN, and I loved all the people there. I loved the mission of the network. But I don't think I was particularly good at figuring out, you know, how to run a big television network. And it taught me a few things. It taught me that you should play to what your real passions are, which for me, I just didn't understand television. Secondly, know whether you're a manager or a visionary or a creative person or somebody who can just be part of a team. And for me to be a tough executive at a big company like that, it didn't feel right to me after a while.
And what do you learn from the Aspen Institute? The
Aspen Institute is all about collaborations. But if you bring 20 people around the table, even on the most tough issue, be it immigration reform, abortion, school prayer, you name it, you can get people of good faith to get to 80% of the answer because we all have a certain common ground of values. If you build on that, instead of trying to rip people apart the way our political and media system sometimes does today, that we could solve a lot more problems.
Well, you are just a fascinating, wonderful man.
Thank you.
I
Very
feel
good
so
interviewer.
lucky to talk to you.
You were really good. Good to talk to you, Kelly.